Well, Donald Trump has delivered pizza and hamburgers to a group of police and National Guard forces who are tackling rampant crime and homelessness in Washington, D.C.
And I'll eat with you, and we're going to have a little fun. We're going to celebrate, but then we're going to get back to work, and we're going to take care of these criminals. We're going to put them where they have to be. You're going to say, don't play around with us. Don't play around with us. So let's go have something to eat. You're going to like the hamburgers? Would you rather have hamburgers from the White House or pizzas from a good place, huh? I think they want the hamburgers.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Beau Davidson. Beau, thanks for joining me. Look, I've got to say, Trump really is a man of the people. But how much does this show how seriously he is taking this mission to stamp out crime, that he's personally thanking law enforcement?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. He is a man of the people. And I think his style, Danica, is to go to the source, whether it's the scene of the crime or the people solving it. You have politicians that go to fundraisers and to donor meetings and things like that. They never visit their constituents, but that's never been Donald Trump's style. You look at his visits to the southern border or where there's a natural disaster, and he wants to be at the point of action, and he wants to be with those people who are solving it. Think about his work back as a real estate developer. He would go to the construction site. He wants to be hands-on and to see what's happening and how to solve that problem. And more importantly, as you stated, I think it shows that there's a solidarity with law enforcement officers. We look back at the last 4 years, and a lot of law enforcement officers probably thought that no one had their backs. I think to go there, to deliver pizza, to have a moment of camaraderie and to show his solidarity with them speaks volumes as to who he is. But I think he has had a long trajectory of actions like this, where he's gone to the source, visited with the people involved, and said, I'm going to help you solve this problem. I'm here and I'm with you. And I think that's an important quality of his.
Yeah, great leadership skills, I agree. And I also thought it was funny, Beau, he even managed to take a bit of a subtle dig at Joe Biden. Have a look.
Be very careful. You don't want to slip or fall like somebody else I know.
Yeah, Beau, he's not wrong, is he?
And no, he's not wrong at all. There's his ever-present sense of humor. That's typical Donald Trump. And you know what? I think it's kind of true. I think Biden probably would have tripped and then wished the officers a Merry Christmas on his way out. That's probably what he would have done. But in all seriousness, look at the difference in that administration versus this one. That was a disastrous administration. It was an embarrassment of a president. It was an embarrassment of an administration and the traitorous staff that propped him up. And as I said earlier, I just think you look at how law enforcement is now versus how they were then. Trump is supporting these people. He knows that these law enforcement officers, they don't make a big salary, Danica. People need to know that. And they put their lives on the line every single day. They may not come home tonight to their families because of what some criminal might do. So for someone to get out there and to support these people who go into the streets of D.C. and are very crime-ridden areas and support them, I think speaks volumes. And it's a huge transition and a welcome transition from the last 4 years of a joke, which was Joe Biden's administration.
Yeah, the difference is absolutely incredible. Now, look, we saw the meeting at the White House this week between Donald Trump and Ukraine President Zelensky. Trump has appeared to really ramp up his rhetoric overnight, saying crooked and grossly incompetent Joe Biden would not let Ukraine fight back, only defend. How did that work out? Regardless, this is a war that would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance. Interesting times ahead. Beau, how would this go down with Moscow, given that he has just met with Putin?
Well, it's difficult to say. You know, Russia launched an overnight strike, huge overnight strike with ballistic missiles and cruise missiles against an American company as well. And I think it just shows it that Vladimir Putin isn't doing good faith negotiations. Unfortunately, I think he can't be trusted. So you have Zelensky saying that he needs security guarantees, and you have Russia saying any discussions without them are utopia. But I think let's look at this from a different perspective. There's a lot of things going on. You have Trump the negotiator, Trump the peacemaker, Trump the coalition builder, but you also have Trump the punisher. Because remember, there is the carrot, which are economic incentives and trade, but there's also the stick, and that could be sanctions, that could be tariffs. The U.S. might even provide air support to Ukraine in the future. We'll have to see. But there's a level of 3D chess going on here as well. We're putting pressure on Venezuela, which is a partner of Putin's and Russia's. We're putting pressure on India for buying Russian oil. The million-dollar question, Danica, is can Trump get Putin and Zelensky in the same room in about the next 10 days? And that hinges on really two questions. One, what are the security guarantees? European armies are not so big anymore, so can they do that? Number two is, what does the land swap look like? This map redraw looks a lot like the old Novorossiya map, and Donbass is still a strategic area of concern that Russia wants. So on the one hand, Danica, I think Trump could wield his power and put pressure on Putin himself. On the other hand, you look at this tweet and you say, well, maybe Trump allows a little Ukrainian offensive with the help of his European friends. The goal, of course, is a bilateral meeting or probably a trilateral meeting. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is drafting article like 5 security guarantees as we speak. But at the same time, I think we have to look at this from a 3D chess perspective. Sometimes something Trump is saying is also intended to have a certain effect. And in this particular case, I just don't think Vladimir Putin can be trusted. He's not negotiating in good faith. So at that point, you bring out the stick rather than the carrot.
Yeah, look, that's a really great analysis. I agree. Now, JD Vance, the Vice President, has cautioned Elon Musk against forming a third political party. This is what he said.
Disagree with me all you want, disagree with the President of the United States, but don't pretend that you can make a big difference with a third party. I think Elon would make a much bigger difference if he stayed loyal to President Trump's Republican Party.
Beau, is JD Vance right? Could Elon Musk wield more power by sticking with the Republicans?
Yeah, I think he can. You know, JD Vance just has this great organic, disarming, plain speak way of framing his issues and disagreements. And I think he's the Robin to Trump's Batman. I agree with JD that Musk could be much more effective as a GOP architect from within than a disgruntled outsider. Musk clearly has shifted the paradigm. You go back, you look at his disenchantment with California, you look at his purchase of Twitter, you look at his shift into Trump, and then you look at his leadership at Doge. He's very effective. But he's got to realize that Democrats will use his defection. It'll look like he sold his soul to the devil if he goes third party. Republicans, on the other hand, have embraced Elon Musk's acumen and his ideas, but they don't like the infighting. Nobody does. I think there's room at the table for Elon's ideas, but there's no room at the Democratic table for Elon Musk other than maybe his money. So I think the ball is in Elon's court right now, and I'll make an analogy to American history. He can be like Alexander Hamilton, who was a great leader in the battlefield, but he was really more utilized for his brain and his mental acumen, or he can be like Aaron Burr and switch parties on a whim and go nowhere. That's kind of the choice that's in his court right now, and I really do think he'll make the right one.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's hope so. Beau Davidson, thank you so much for joining me as always.
Thank you, Danica. Always a pleasure.